Good afternoon, everyone. How are we? Welcome along. It's another live conversation. Yours truly, Andy Ward Presents. And today we are going live and direct to Chicago on what I would imagine is a cold Thursday morning. And we're going to talk to none other than the legendary Mr. Terry Hunter. Before I go over to Terry, I just want to confirm that I am live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube, and we are also testing out the live vertical streaming on Instagram. So if anybody sees anything untoward at any part, do let me know in the comments. So by pressing this button, I am hoping I am going to go to the legendary. Yes, he's there. And I've got your name on top of my screen. So let me change that. Actually, I'm not going to bother. Terry's above me on the vertical. I'm not Terry Hunter. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How you doing, brother?
I'm really good. I'm sure you always see how smiley I am when I'm in your company, right?
Man, that goes both ways. You already know.
Yes.
A lot of years between us, bro. A lot of years.
A hell of a lot of years. Well, strangely coincidentally, I was looking for something the other day, and I came across some of the photos from Miami '97 before we really ever got too tight, and you were so young and fresh faced.
Wow.
But I've got to say, you
so
look
wait.
better now.
You trying to say I'm not young and fresh faced now?
You just cut me off. I was just about to say you're looking better now than you were back then. Really, honest and truthfully, mate. You and this is one of the things that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Would you say it's a little bit over the top to say you've had a little bit of a transformation in recent times? Do you feel that?
Nah, it's not over the top. It's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that number one, I have to say, man, this is all God. God is amazing. And I just feel like that, I was telling somebody, I remember years ago, right, that when, generations before us, when they were, 45, 50 plus, they would really look much older, when we was youthful. And so I remember doing a bunch of interviews and recently, and I'm just super proud, man, to be in my 50s, early 50s, and to be having this type of success. Never in a million years, bro, did I think that this would happen on a level. And again, and I'm going to say success too, because around the world, Europe, Africa, just around the world, it has been great, but it seems to have been making a huge move again in the States. You know what I mean? And houses being more accepted. You're seeing more open format DJs, and you're seeing more R&B producers and hip hop producers, and the young rappers and the R&B cats of today putting that 4/4 in their music. Mm-hmm. And that's a direct testament of what we do with house. And so it's just kind of glad to see that's happening.
Beautiful. Well, we are going to talk about the new movement and the rebirth, the rejuvenation, so to speak. I think it's a given. Pretty much everyone that I'm talking to is going to be fully aware of yourself. Now, as you started off by saying, we go back some way. So I am guilty sometimes of not putting enough weight on people's names when I introduce them. 3 times Grammy nominated, Mr. Terry Hunter. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So congratulations on that. You have conducted more interviews over the 4 decades that you've been in this industry that I'm sure you care to mention. And if people want to dig deep, they can find out all of the information about you. So what I would like to do today is focus on the energy that you've brought to the industry, the energy you've brought to your own game, the people you have around you now. And the title is How to Succeed in Today's House Music Industry. And I put a rather inflammatory title over your photograph, The House Music Biz Owes You Nothing. Because over the years,
love that.
we have seen people come and go, and it isn't enough nowadays to just have longevity, right?
Yes, no, man. It's definitely not. Let me tell you something. It's a game that's going on right now on how this industry is that it's fast changing. It's not like back in the 90s, man, when we were doing it, and even, before that. The game is just so different now. You know what I mean? And so we're always on our toes trying to figure out, how do you keep relevant? What are we doing wrong? Where should we capitalize in record sales or visibility and getting gigs and all of those things? And I just think that the game is when you think you figured it out, something else comes and throws you for a loop, and then it's like, just like that, that's not the thing to do anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it was just funny. I got two boys, 27 and 17, man, and I look at their generations and they're born into this. So it's kind of what they do, especially my youngest son that's just turned 17, and he's now picked up the DJ bug and producing. And it's just some of the things that he's doing and that he's showing me that I thought I was just well equipped of knowing. I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? And so to further what I'm saying is just really, I think I'm figuring it out, is that you got to have someone that's youthful on your team, period. Like to keep thriving, if you want to achieve and be noticed in today's world. And, some people don't care to, some people are like, hey, I'm fine with what I'm doing, and this is never not work for me. If it, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so for me, I just didn't want to be redundant in those spaces. I want to stay in those spaces, but I also want to, create and move with the times with my music. And I didn't want to be lost or be the old guy or the guy that kind of just fizzled out,
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, that's a great roundup of how it's been. So we've seen a lot of peaks and troughs in the scene. We've seen a lot of frustration leading the forefront. There's a hell of a lot of talk about plagiarism, people in the mainstream stealing our sound and running with it and making it something different. And the whole premise, I'll keep coming back to this at the beginning, the whole premise of this conversation is an inspirational conversation. It's a positive conversation. But let's take Absolutely. 2 minutes to focus on some dark times that you can immediately think of when you think, boy, I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was happening. When would you say that was?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the biggest one of them all, I would say COVID. When COVID hit, I thought, honestly, it was over because no one knew what was going on. Everything just stopped. But as COVID went on, things started to shape up. So it started not to be as bad as we all thought it would be. New technology came in. Obviously, people were doing interviews like this, but Zoom became effective. Streaming became really monumental and a game changer. But like, I remember times though, man, I would have to say in probably, I can't pinpoint the year, but I remember just going on a couple of roller coaster rides in the industry where, I hate to put names on it because I come from the school, it's two kinds of music, right? There's good music and there's bad music. And
I know
it was at a time where everybody was trying to,
this.
yeah, like just trying to box you in and saying, oh, you're just soulful. Oh, you're just this. Oh, you're just that. And they put so many labels under house music, and it was happening with hip hop. And so you saw a lot of the stuff, vocal records are over, big churchy records are over, big soulful musician driven records are over. It's all about the EDM. And I remember having a conversation with one of my partners then and was like, listen, man, you need to kind of adapt with the times as far as, all this jazz chordy stuff and funky bass lines is not really it. It's a 1 or 2 bar loop. And that's just what it is. Like, the drum rolls, the big breakdowns and this and this and that. And for me, I adapted with the times, with the sound, but I didn't feel that that was true. I didn't feel that I needed to go that route, because to me, if I had to do that to survive in the industry, I would have quit.
Mm-hmm.
If I couldn't make what I loved and what I felt and DJ'd what I loved and what I felt, and again, some of those records I like, but I couldn't have done it. I'd have probably been more fulfilled getting a job at a grocery store, helping people out, than doing something that I really hate because I had to earn a living. You know what I mean? And so those were some really dark times when I think EDM was coming in, and it just seemed like everybody kind of closed the door on house music per se that we all know and love. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, why isn't it room for that? Why is it just, it has to be this or nothing? And so I was like, yo, nah, I'm gonna do what I believe in. And I didn't come this far to be shut off because another style of music. Music is gonna consistently change. And so I just adapted with what my sound was, and it was rough patches. But I made it through the storm.
But never at any point did you, what's the word I'm looking for? Compromise your sound at any point.
Sell out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nah.
Because I know that's not in your locker. Now, let me just say before we carry on, we've got a lot of people watching on Facebook, people on Instagram, people over on YouTube as well. As you can see, I'm watching 1,000 different screens here, so forgive me, everyone, for not saying hello. I will come and give you some shouts in a little while. So, how did you get out of that rut then? Just hard work, or the rest of the industry got bored of that new wave and they came back to the real?
I just think being consistent. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny. It just hit me so hard, and I keep saying this, is when I attended the Grammys this year, and for those of you that didn't see it, Jay-Z was recognized at the Grammys, right? And I'm a massive hip-hop fan, and I'm a big fan of Jay-Z, and Jay-Z said something that was so important, and I promise you, it felt like he was talking directly at me, even though he was talking to everybody around the world watching. And what he said that was so powerful was that, not talking about just the Grammys, but everybody in general, because he said, we're going to get off the Grammys, but just everybody and everything that you do, if it's music, if it's sports, if you're on a business, you just got to keep showing up, right? You got to keep showing up. You got to keep doing what you believe in until they give you those accolades. And I just felt it was powerful. And what he said at the Grammys is like, yo, we need you guys to get it right. Some of you got robbed today. Some of you will get robbed today. But no matter what, you got to keep showing up. And that was a testament to me. It was so powerful because in answering your question, I just kept showing up. I just kept showing up and didn't realize that's what I was doing, but that's exactly what I was doing. And so here we are.
It's incredible. And again, a testament to what you've done. Now, listening to you, the words showing up ring true, because you made a really powerful post on your Instagram saying about I showed up. This is what I've done. Looking around to the people in the room, we've got to continue. So I still want to roll it back a little bit further. You mentioned about COVID, which was quite important. Now, while we're talking, I can see you're freezing a little bit. So what I'm going to do, everybody watching on Instagram, go over to YouTube, youtube.com/DJ Andy Ward, because I'm going to kill this Instagram feed just in case it's burning out the resources on my computer. So that should be finished now. Okay. And just as we said that, someone was saying, keep showing up, Terry Hunter. So that's beautiful.
There you go. Yes.
Okay. So in your repertoire, record labels, production outfits, working with other people, 3-time Grammy nominated over the years. Was it 2015, the first one?
Yes, sir. Jennifer Hudson.
Yeah, Jennifer, Beyonce, and Mariah. And were there any other major pivotal moments that you would say was sort of like putting your flag in the ground and saying, this is it?
Actually, yeah. And you know what's funny? That the record, it seems that, people knew about it, but for me, as a pivotal moment, kind of like a wow, a aha moment, like, is about a month and a half after I finished the Beyonce remix. I got a call to do a remix for Chaka Khan. And in doing that remix led me to having a crazy nerd out conversation with Chaka on the phone. And it was just, I remember being in the house and I'm walking around telling my wife, like, yo, I am having a conversation with Chaka Khan right now. Like, because she's a Chicago girl. And so we started talking about some of the places in Chicago, the high schools that we went to, and nerding out about her love for being a drummer. And that was one of the things that she liked about the remix, was that she was saying that the drums that I programmed on the remix for, it felt really warm and really good to her. And she, is probably heard a lot of the electronic stuff before and never paid attention to that. A lot of us do that, you know what I mean? And so she was just really complimenting me on that. And just to have that conversation with Chaka Khan, that will go with me forever. You know what I mean? And so it was just one of those things like, man, Ma, I know you're proud of me, because she loves Chaka. And so that to work with her and to have that conversation was really dope.
Beautiful. You're not someone who needs a pat on the back, but to get that validation, clearly
yes.
it meant the world, right?
No, it meant the world, man. And it's, still I laugh about it when I think that I was on the phone with it,
Wicked. Well, Toy on YouTube is saying, Chi-Town, stand up. Wicked.
Toy, what up, Toy?
Excuse me. Okay, so we're going to get to the topic in conversation, how to succeed, because you've been there rubbing shoulders with the biggest and the best. And sometimes people say, oh, yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Now, everybody. It hasn't really given you sort of like carte blanche and the keys to the kingdom, has it?
No, not at all, man. And that's the thing, a lot of people, that's the one thing about, and we're gonna keep this interview positive because we are both two positive brothers, but sometimes the thing that really irks me, I guess is the word, is that certain people that's not involved and really don't know always have an opinion, right? And so they form that opinion, and then they get a group of people and they go on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and then get other people to have that same opinion, or they might have been thinking that when you're not even in the room. You know what I mean? And so that, I feel like it's a situation that I think in anything, not just music, people need to just stop assuming, right? Because you're assuming because you don't know, because you're not in the rooms. And so I'm going to say, no, that it doesn't mean anything. The one thing that I told somebody before is, again, I think God is the reason why all of this stuff is happening. But besides that, man, it's a lot of luck. It's a lot of being in the right places at the right time. It's about maybe having a conversation that you didn't know would lead into something. You know what I mean? And so it's just crazy to when you think people formulate those ideas and think, oh, you should be doing this or you should be doing that or this or that. And they're not even involved in the situation. It burns me up. And so I think was my case. I don't think, if I'm going to be honest, I think I'm really good at what I do. I think I'm a great DJ. I think I'm a great producer. I think I'm a great remixer, but I don't think I'm the best in the world. Matter of fact, I know I'm not. You know what I mean? But it's something else about me that has gotten me into situations that has furthered my career. And so whatever that thing is that people see, I have no control and don't know I possess that, but I love it. And it's just me.
Well, we'll strip away some of those layers in a little while, put you on the spotlight. But you said a very important word there, and I didn't want to interrupt you. And people who watch this stream will know I don't believe in the word luck. It's strange that the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, everybody has their opinion on it. And for me, I say that because I've seen so many situations. And maybe, in thinking about what you're saying in the reality of it, yeah, maybe it's not. Look, maybe it was
Well, let me give you
destined
a
for
prime.
you to
Let me
be.
give you a prime example. We were just talking about dark times. You mentioned about
Yes.
COVID. You really didn't think, you didn't know where it was going. Many of us collectively almost went under, and yet
Yeah.
you yourself thought, and you came up with "Sanitize Your Soul." Now
Yes.
that wasn't luck. You
You're
made
right.
the best of a bad situation, and you were powerful enough to dig deep, think about that, come up with the concept, and you ran with it. And that was the beginning of the new rise. Would you say?
Yes. Yes. No, absolutely. And in that situation, you're absolutely right. And what I mean, let me clarify the luck situation is sometimes we do use that word loosely, but in certain things, when you look at it, one might say, yeah, you're lucky, but then again, when you think about it, that's the one thing that for me and you that people don't know is this is great. Like when you do interviews, when you can learn something from someone and then you can also learn something from the person that's interviewing you, that's what makes things powerful. And so looking at that, yeah, I probably never say that again. That was destined to happen. I worked hard for it. So yeah, that's a teachable moment. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely
Beautiful.
right. And so in saying that, I will correct my luck saying in the future moving forward. Because that's the one thing, bro, and as being a Chicagoan,
It's,
is the
you know what
one
it is. It's
thing
the
that
modest. You're too modest. That's what it is. You don't want
that's
to.
what I was just,
Yeah.
bro, you took the words right out of my mouth. That is the thing that I am in a situation, and why I said that, which is so funny that you hit on, is that I'm that guy. Like I'm a true Leo, right? And what I mean by that, I'm nice until you poke me. Like until you poke the bear, then the lion's gonna come out. And people that know me have seen that lion come out in situations, right? But I try not to ever let that happen. And so my point of it is that through my career, I have always been the one respectful, humble this, humble that. And during the pandemic, during COVID, it was like, nah, screw it. Nah, I deserve this. I earned this. I am taking this. And that has been my mindset. And the world has literally opened up. I am not taking any downplaying when it comes to Terry Hunter or Team Terry Hunter or my brand. So a lot of people, and I don't want to jump off to other things, but I look at Kanye West, right? Some people call him crazy, foolish, whatever. I've known him for years before he blew up to this status, and he's who he is. He's just got a lot of more eyes on him. And that confidence, he do crazy things and whatever? Absolutely. But that confidence and that word of you putting it out there means something. I used to be like, was doing the Beyonce, I did it. We had no idea when it was coming out. Well, maybe they will put it out. And I remember I had a couple of friends like, nah, they putting it out. You got to say it's coming out. You got to believe that it's going to come out. And it was crazy how it happened was I did the remix, played it, and it was a situation going back and forth with her and the song and some samples being cleared. And about a month and a half, went past. And then I got a call at 2 a.m. And her manager was like, yo, send me the master stems right now. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Sent them the stems, didn't think nothing of it. Woke up 8 o'clock the next day, literally had about 500 texts. Phone just going off like, yo, congratulations. And the record came out 4 hours later everywhere. So that just is one of the for instance that goes to show you, you know what I mean? Just stay positive, claim it, and it'll be yours, man.
Amazing. Amazing to hear from the horse's mouth. When you had that change of mindset or the realization rather than a change, because it's always been in you, let me give you an example. During COVID, I saw a lot of other people in front of the camera like this. And even being on the radio for so long, I felt awkward. I didn't want to be in front of the camera. I questioned, why would I be doing it? What are people going to say? And then I was given the belief to listen, you got something to offer. You just go ahead and do it. And once you enable yourself to be open to the possibilities. As you've just said, they just keep rolling. They just keep rolling.
Yes,
So that's
do.
a really powerful message that you're sharing there. Thank you
No,
for honing on that, because I'm still on that journey right now. But I want to come back to asking, did you have any other assistance with you? Had you been talking to new people? You recently, got signed up. You signed up to Ultra just before COVID or during COVID?
Just before COVID.
Okay,
yes,
so how did all that come about? Because that was quite a big coup, right?
Yeah, it was a big thing. So what happened? I'll tell a quick version of how we led to that. Was, I believe it was, my years might be off, 17 or 18, that I was getting a call from this guy, right? It was a funny story. It's a video out there, and I told the story, but he was like, yo, Terry, I manage this artist by the name of Chuck. We really want to get with you, man. We love how you move and represent Chicago all over the world. You're a giant, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. We get these phone calls like, yeah. But this guy was persistent. He kept calling me, would not let up, and was just telling me he had this artist, Chuck, whatever. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I said, listen, man, you're super cool. You've been respectful. I said, it's going to be crazy. You guys come down. We do our Chosen Few event every year. Come down to Chosen Few. I'll meet you and we'll holler and meet in person and chop it up, blah, blah, blah. So long and short, we in the middle of Chosen Few. There's freaking 40,000 people there. He introduces himself to me, his artist that he was telling me about. And so I'm like, yeah, come on, man. So, we're in the middle of it. It's crazy. You know how it goes when you throwing a big event. So we go into a tent, right? That was kind of off to the side. And so he was talking. He was like, listen, man, let's definitely get up. Let's make some time. I was like, cool. So I'm still, I'm looking at this gentleman and I'm like, cool. I'm like, all right, well, in my mind, he's a singer. So I'm like, you didn't call me all this time. I want to see if this guy can sing. So you're not going to waste my time any further. So I looked at it. I was like, well, man, you think you still got it? Let me hear something. And he was like, yeah. And then he was like, in the beginning, there was Jack. And I was like literally my mouth hit the floor because he was telling me his artist's name was Chuck. Now, understand, that record came out under Rhythm Control. Chuck Roberts was not the main artist. I had no idea who Chuck Roberts was.
Right.
And when he said it, I was like, oh my God. Like literally hairs were standing up on my arm. And so they both looked at me and was like, hold on. You had no idea that this was Chuck. And I was like, nah. And so I said, yo, we got to talk. I said, and I had been looking for him because I sampled the record a couple of times and I never put it out, but it was just, DJ Tool stuff that we would play. I said, bro, I've been trying to find you for the last 10 years. And he was like, well, man, here I am. So now I'm thinking, I haven't played my set yet, right? I'm like, listen, I'm finna do something that's finna change your career. And he was like, what? I said, before my set, I don't want to say anything. I just want to bring you on stage and you do the speech. I said, but you gotta shake on it. I said, Alan King, I said, that's my attorney. He here right now. We don't need to do this legally, but let's shake on it. Let me produce the 2018 or 19 version of In the Beginning. He was like, what? We trying to get with you. We shook on it. Beginning of my set came out. I didn't say anything. And I'll never forget, DJ Spinell had just finished. And he got up and they introduced me, showing love. And Chuck went right in front of the stage. In the beginning, there was Jack. And people went absolutely nuts. But the funny part was that they thought I was playing the record.
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds later, everybody caught on that, hold on, this is the guy that really did the record. Spinner turned around and looked, and I just see everybody on the stage like, oh my God, then you just hit his wave. It was a magical moment. Needless to say, we did that. We hooked up. I produced the record. From that clip, it went around. Patrick Moxey reached out. So we did the deal with Chuck Roberts in the beginning and signed it to Ultra. And then after doing that deal, Patrick was like, yo, what else are you working on? What you got going? And then I sent him this record that still hasn't came out that got Patrick's attention. And then that's how I got the deal with Ultra.
Wow. So even though you expected things to change dramatically, because that's a huge thing in the soulful house and Ultra music was like a world apart. And then, of course, COVID hit. So that's great. People in the comments are just saying amazing. Johnny D's passing through saying, I know that guy.
Johnny D, what up?
And Toy is sharing a lot of information, as is DJ Purple on YouTube as well. So thank you everyone for the comments and the views. It's much appreciated. So I said we'll probably chat for an hour. We could be here for hours on end, but I'll try and keep it concise. I asked if you had any extra help, because at some point your output changed and it was a real tangible, a real noticeable moment that brand Terry Hunter came alive. So tell me about that journey.
No, absolutely. So I was I was working with a lot of different graphic artists, and you know, I'm if anybody knows me, I am very particular, number one, when it comes to when I DJ, when I mix and master records, when we throw parties, the look of it is the sound quality has to be. Sound is so important to me. Anybody that works with me know that. Engineering a record and having the visuals being at its best was a thing for me. And I was going through a patch to where I was trying to find the right graphic artist, in a sense, to do our events, and I was looking to redo my website. And so I remember I was on the phone with a good friend, Frederick Dunson, who is running the FKF Foundation, the Frankie Knuckles Foundation. And I was very impressed with their website. And I was like, man, I called him up. I said, Frederick, I'm trying to get a website done right now. I said, man, who did you guys cite? Do you mind telling me? And he was like, nah, not at all. He's like, oh, I work with this guy by the name of Mo. He goes under Mo Knows Best, whatever. I'm like, cool. He was like, I'm going to introduce you guys. So obviously Mo, he introduced us. He knew who I was because he's into the scene and all of that. And we clicked up, and it was just a mutual respect from the beginning. He did my website, and Mo was already doing websites. He was known in Miami, and, you know, he's from New York, but he was doing flyers for a lot of open format DJs. And then when he was doing the website, he was showing me his work on the flyer side. And I was like, man, I was just really impressed. So after he did the website, I brought him into Chosen Few, and then he started doing the marketing and branding for Chosen Few. And then that lifted the brand of our festival with doing that. And then me and him just got really cool and was hooking up. And so I'm like, look, I need you to do all of my stuff, like everything that I'm doing. I need that touch on it. And so we just started working really, really, really closely together. He started doing all of my branding. And it was just funny. You know, he started going on the road with me. And he was like, man, I want to try something. Like, he had never tried it before, and was like, yo, I want to try to do these recaps. And yo, he just had his iPhone, because he's a hell of a graphic artist. Like, his eye is amazing. Like, it's probably one of the best in the game. And so I forgot what country or what city we were in, and he just had his iPhone, and it was like, I didn't even know he was there. And he was just capturing moments. And then he was like, yo, look at what I did. And I was like, whoa, like, no one is doing this. You know what I mean? Like, so we did a recap, and then I think one of the ones we did was called, we did a segment called On the Road Again. And it was kind of like just showing the behind the scenes, you know, that really people don't see. You may see it once or twice, but like, you know, leaving the house, driving to the airport, checking in, getting off the plane, going to the hotel, doing sound check, the gig, just all of that stuff. And it started making a thing out of that. And it just immediately got the attention. And when you talk about adapting in today's time, and I felt like it was a void that people wasn't really doing that, it caught on. And I mean, just to the point that, you know, people in our our peers and our group was like, yo, man, like your branding is looking amazing. And then, I remember introducing them to Kenny Dope. Kenny Dope reached out. He did some stuff for Kenny, because we all like brothers, and then hooked up and he's doing stuff. I introduced him to Jazzy Jeff, and then that led to him doing a whole bunch of things. But I got to give that credit to Mo, man. He's such a phenomenal artist, man. His visuals, his eyes for websites and concepts of flyers and colors and fonts, and now this whole recap thing. He's my brand manager, and we're working a lot closely from even him just being my brand manager, and it's just led us to develop this relationship where he's now 100% a part of my business and how we look and how we move. You know what I mean? And so I got to give credit to him.
Well, it's definitely made a huge difference. I take a lot of inspiration from a lot of the content that I saw, and I remember going out of my way to say to you, listen, keep on, buddy, because that's definitely working. Yes. I'm surprised that that was the first time he was trying to ting, as we say.
Yeah, it was he led into it. He had the idea and the concept, and he's wicked, bro. Like, and I look at some of the stuff just to show, these people with these red cameras and these Sony cameras and all, he's killing people with an iPhone. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so that just to show it ain't what you got, is how you use it.
Exactly. You've definitely found your the styling. You found your voice. Your voice is definitely very prominent now on the scene.
Yes.
And so the points I want to focus on here, how has that translated into DJ gigs and record sales? Is it a real noticeable difference, or do you just feel that you're like the hype? I don't like to use that word because it's an empty word. There's got to be substance behind the hype, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, again, it's with having a dope team behind you. Obviously, the things that we're doing with Chosen Few and having that festival continuously growing has been monumental. It's something that I've never seen in the world, and I feel like I'm qualified to say it, not just because I'm a part of it, but I travel the world and do many festivals, and something that Chosen Few offers as a festival, just from the simple fact that the gates open at 7:30 in the morning. The first DJ goes on at 8 in the morning, and people are bringing their grills out and, setting up their tents, and it's all about house music all day. So that had a lot to do with it. And just, I'm very proud of being a part of that and helping that grow, and it's continuing to grow. But also in my branding, just with gigs, just everything, how we moved. If I was playing horrible DJ sets and if I was making horrible records, I don't think the branding and the marketing that we were putting behind it wouldn't have made a difference. So that also challenged me to really go to another level with paying attention in what I did creatively and when I played. And not that I never took it serious, I've always done. But it was just like, you got a lot of more eyes on you now. So it's time to level up. And that's what I tried to do with that. And for instance, for years, when COVID happened, I was working with various peoples, but, I kind of for years took on the realms of booking gigs myself and had the relationships where people would call me direct. Like when we do stuff together, you pick up the phone, you call me, you make those relationships. And then, the other gigs, people would just, email me or phone me or connect me with somebody, and it was starting to be a bit much. And it's funny, I loved what shameless plug, but I loved what Arcade was doing with some of their lineup and artists. And I just remember coming at them and having a conversation with Dave, and it was nothing but pure love and respect because I knew Dave for years. You know what I mean?
This is Arcade talent, and they've got quite an impressive roster across the board, right?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And, we just never was able to get it together. And we always kept in contact. And I just remember exactly kind of what you said. It's like Dave called me and was like, listen, it was, I think around the holidays. And he was like, let's talk in the new year. Your records are amazing. Your sets are amazing. It's coming back to us. Your branding and how you look and where you at right now, I would love for us to have that conversation on us representing you. And absolutely. And we had that conversation. And so I'm now with Arcade for the world. And that was just a thing that since I've been with them, then that's another growth. Now I'm in places and doing gigs that I've never done before because of that attachment. So all of that plays a part with having a great team, with making sure your records sound the best that they can sound, making sure your sets, you play them the best that you can play, and then your marketing and your branding is up to par, and it gets you in those doors. And so that's just one example of how, on what you're speaking about, took me to, another level.
So your talent has always been there, but it sounds to me like your mindset changed, and with the change of mindset, the rewards
absolutely
came flooding in. You mentioned at the beginning of the show talking about God, and many other people say, put it out there to the universe and it will provide, right?
Absolutely, 100%, and that's my whole focus. I put it out in the universe. I mean, not to, and I hope you didn't have this question, but it's just one of those things where such a powerful moment for me to go back to back to the Grammys, right? And respectively, a lot of people have their opinions about the Grammys, right? And I'm not here to say their opinions are wrong or right, but what I do know is the Grammys is the biggest institution. Again, when I did the remix, I was never in the mindset of it was a possibility of the record getting nominated. Like I had no idea, no nothing. And I'm sitting here in this very seat watching the Grammy nominations announcement. And again, I was on the phone with Wayne Williams, and Beyonce got nominated for Best Dance Record, Best Dance Single, whatever, Break My Soul. And so we was trying to figure out a way. I'm like, man, that's really dope. Like, if we can somehow attach ourselves to that, because we remixed the single. Like, and he was like, yeah. He was like, no, man, at the end of the day, you're part of a Grammy nominated single that you remixed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. So he was like, well, let's call Thornell, because Thornell is very heavy into the Recording Academy. And he has a lot of artists that he does PR for that has been Grammy Award winners and nominations. And so I called Thornell, and me and Wayne had him on the phone, and I was like, Thornell, listen, I said, excuse me, the Beyonce won for Best. He was like, oh, I saw that. I was like, so is there any way that we can say that we're part of a Grammy nominated single? And it was just so funny. We laughed at it. He was like, no, you cannot. Your remix has to be nominated for you to say it. Beyonce is going to get the credit for that. No, you cannot, and you shouldn't do it. Blah, 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 blah. And he wasn't a Debbie Downer, but he was just really like, no, you can't do it. No, I don't want you as a client going out there saying false narratives about you're a part of a Grammy nominated record and you didn't do it. Your remix is not Grammy nominated, Terry. And so we hung up the phone with him, and Wayne was like, man, forget what he's saying. We finna run with that. Like, that's crazy. He tripping. I've been in this industry for years and saw artists and songwriters and producers capitalize off of that. And so we sitting there, and it's in the background, me and Wayne talking about it. And it's like, next category, best remix recording. Lizzo, blah, 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 blah. Da, 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 da. Beyonce, Break My Soul. Terry Hunter.
Hey.
Yo, like I looked at my screen right here. I was like, whoa, hold on. Wayne was like, what? I said, did you hear that? He was like, what? I said, yo, we just got nominated for. So we on the phone literally screaming like, so now I'm pissed off. I said, get Thornell ass back on the phone. And so obviously he's watching it too. I said, what you say? I said, you got to be what? To take claim of it? I said, well, guess what? I'm Grammy nominated for the single now. So we all hollering on the phone. It was a huge ordeal because it was just crazy. We had no idea. You know what I mean? And so to have that happen in that magnitude like that was sort of amazing. And my whole thing, my point that me saying all of this was that was for Chicago. that was for house music around the world. You know what I mean? And that has been my speech. That has been my position with this. Win, lose, or draw. There was no losers in that for me. Being nominated, I won because I know what it takes to even get your record nominated. The thousands of records that you go through, and me now being a part of the Recording Academy and a voting member knows how hard that is, right? And so I'm like, I showed up. I'm there. I'm representing house music around the world. And so that's been my play. And then here, the same thing happened again. Had no idea. And what they did last year and what they normally do, they'll announce all the nominations, right? Every category, because there's so many nominations where it's two parts. It's the non-televised part, where most of the Grammy Awards and nominations happen. And then it's just the televised part for all the huge stars, whatever. And that's only 2 hours. It's a long day. And what they did was they only announced on the streams the people that was nominated for the televised nominations. All of the rest of the nominations, which is the majority of them, you had to, once the stream was over, go to Grammy.com to see the rest of the list of nominations. And so I wasn't even thinking. Like, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh man, I didn't like how they did that, but it's cool, whatever. Yo, I'm in the studio. I had started working. And then my girl Danielle, which is on my team, she called me and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Now, it was a totally different effect because, again, when the Beyonce happened, phone blowing up, right? Mm-hmm. This one, the website was overloaded. Everybody was hitting the Grammy site to see the rest of the nominations. It was just crashed. Nobody can get on. Danielle calls me and she just screaming on the phone, oh my God, you did it again. And I'm like, what you talking about? I'm like, yo, let me hit you back because I'm in this session. I got an idea. She was like, you don't know? I said, what are you talking about? She was like, you got nominated again. And I'm like, nah. I was like, I didn't see anything. She was like, so I go to the Grammy site, can't get on. She was like, go to LAtimes.com. They just posted it. And she was like, I'm looking at it now. Billboard magazine just posted all the nominations. I said, well, what did I get nominated for? She was like, best remix recording for the Mariah. So I did 2 records on that Mariah project. And I'm like, well, which one? And she was like, I don't know. She's screaming. She excited. So now we online looking. And I go to LAtimes.com and then I see Terry Hunter, Mariah Carey, best remix recording, Working Hard. Had no idea about that. And so my whole thing is that I want to tell everybody that's listening, for this, I do this for house music. You know what I mean? I do this for Chicago. I do this for the people that have booked me since I was a teenager all the way up into today. And this is not about me. You know what I mean? It's about seeing this music continue to get the looks that it deserves, not mask it under any other name. I'm not going to name them, but other than what it is house music. That's what it is. And win, lose, or draw, you know, again, we're not going to speak about the other part, but I got another nomination, and I look at it like I went back to back with 2 of the most gigantic, humongous, crazy artists in the world. And Terry Hunter is a part of that history, and no one can never take it away. And now you have people looking at house music in a whole nother light. And it was also a plea for me to people that's in the house music community, instead of being behind the Facebook keyboard, oh, this and that, saying this, get involved. Because that was me. I'm like, the Grammys, oh man, it's whatever, it's whacked. You know, shout out to my man Jay Ivy. He's like, Terry, you a king at this. We need someone like you in this. And we're not gonna get change if we don't have anybody in the rooms to make change. I was like, nah. And I remember I woke up one day and I was like, you know what, Terry? You're a damn fool. You're a part of the problem when you can be a part of the solution. And from that day, I was like, you know what? I called him up and I was like, what I need to do? And then I started getting involved. And that's what needs to happen, is that we need to get people that's in house music and believes in what we're doing in that community to get involved, to vote. It's just like anything else. It's a voting-driven academy, the same as the Emmys, the same as the Oscars, all of that. And so my plea is to get people involved, because those nominations is, to this day as we speak, changing my life.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm thankful for it, and I'm thankful to represent house music, man, in that capacity, because like you talked about that post, yo, I'm in the rooms now. So I'm finna represent this as hard to pull everybody else through the door, because that's the only way we're gonna make this thing grow in that capacity and on this level.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say that, and you asked me about time earlier. I'm quite happy to carry on chatting. While we've got a couple more questions. So if time gets tight for you, just let me know. You say about for everyone else bringing it through. It's very clear. You're on the level. You're the same as the rest of us. It's the same as in the UK. Local grown footballers who come through into the main team. It's like, yes, he's one of our own. That's how everyone. Most people were looking at you in that same way.
Yes.
Let's say most people.
Yes.
We won't focus on the others. But
absolutely,
then you're already now using the spotlight to bring others through with you. You're representing Chosen Few around the world. You're also first person that springs to mind. Immaculate. He's not someone that's just arrived today. He's been around a while, but the spotlight is on him in the last few years. So tell us about your ethos about nurturing talent, whether it's old talent, finding new talent.
Yeah, I think first of all, the person that you are speaks volumes with me. I don't care how talented you are, what you can bring to the table. If you're a jerk, I can't do it. And I've been knowing, just to touch on that situation, Immaculate, I've been knowing him for a while. He's been in the music industry. What people don't know is that he first started off DJing house music, but he was always a dope DJ, a dope producer. And he was doing a lot of hip hop, R&B, and doing a lot of engineering. And I've always told him, like, yo, you're dope. Like, you really should do some house stuff. And one day, he hit me with a record that he did with Julius the Mad Thinker. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. This is really dope. And so they had put it out, and the record didn't get any looks. I said, well, look, I love the record. Let me put the record out on T's Box. I'm guaranteeing you we're going to get some looks on that record. And again, we've been cool, and I put the record out, and the record did well and got a lot of looks. And from us talking and building even more, I had a situation where I was in between engineers, and we was like, yo, how can we help each other? And he helped me out on the engineering front in a massive way, where now he's my main engineer. So a lot of people don't know he every record that I have since we've been together, he mixes it. Shout out to Joey Fernandez. He was my other engineer before Eric, and he got out of mixing, and now he's just a straight mastering engineer. And so we developed a sound where he was mixing my records, and then he started producing, and he was like, man, I really have a huge background for what I used to do, and just being, organizing stuff, and I know business, and then obviously he knew the music industry. He was like, yo, I can see you can need some help with running the labels. So he started helping me running, the T's Box and T's Crates, and was the man helping me putting that together. So he started running the labels, and then was mixing all of my records. And I'm like, look, I'm really finna help you get out here, man. Like, we had conversations. I told him, this is how this is gonna go, exactly how it's gonna happen. And we're still turning pages today, and it's exactly the stuff that I explained to him. And just to speak about him is that you can't find that type of talent and loyalty. It's very rare. And when you have it in your hands, you have to help exploit that. And I felt like, for me, I'm never a jealous person. I'm very confident in who I am. And it was never about, someone coming in and taking the spotlight from me. I wanted to see him get the props that he deserved on a genre of music, which he loved and really never really got into it. And so I helped speed that situation up. And then I went on with my other brainiac ideas and was like, yo, I want to start another label. And I came up with Mirrorball, and I was like, look, man, we're brothers in every true sense of the word. And I said, I want to bring you in. Let's partner on this label. And then we started Mirrorball. And Mirrorball is going, and he's still acting manager of T's Box, T's Crates. And, I've helped get his production out there, put him on just different situations with that. He had relationships and started establishing that. And just the doors open just to show you he had an idea. He loves documentaries. He came up with an idea. And because of the relationships that I've had and people that I was involved with, we was able to pick up the phone, and he called Kelly G. And Kelly G is with 300 Studios, which is a big company that's run by Kevin Lyles. And we pitched an idea about doing a house music documentary. And they was like, yo, we love the hip house. The hip house part was just an episode. And from 300 and Kelly G and Nolan, we got this documentary, in our DNA, Hip House, signed to Comcast in America, which is a big cable provider and internet company. And that just took us to a whole nother level with being executive producers now. You know what I mean? And so that just shows you with that, that's something that he had a dream of doing. And because of the situation that years of relationships, we was able to take the music thing and now venture into this. And so that's my thing, man. If you're talented, let's go. Whatever I can help you with. I want to share the knowledge,
That's amazing. Well, I've got a young guy here who's watching, but goes by the, maybe you can help him out. His name is Maurice Joshua. Maybe you could put some work his way.
Maurice Joshua, I've heard his name mentioned in a few places before, and I really don't have time. My team is kind of set and locked, and I really don't have time for new people like that. And I know I'm contradicting what I'm saying. Maurice, shut up.
Gotta love Maurice.
Big up to my bro, Maurice Joshua.
Fantastic. Maurice and Mr. Miller, the two of those guys together online, they have some great conversations.
Yeah. Big shout out to East Move. Yes, sir.
Great conversations. Okay, yes. So I think you've really shown the fact that a change of mindset can bring huge rewards. It has to be backed up by product. Empty hype doesn't cut it. All the way along, I think it's fair to say it's a different industry than like the pop culture where hype can carry you along. The house music, you're quite wide open, right? You're quite vulnerable.
Yeah. Very vulnerable and very what's the word? Vulnerable. That's the word. And the thing of it is that in seeing this resurgence, like you look at a lot of the stuff that people are doing with podcasts. Maurice has a dope podcast, Everything House and More, and just getting the information out there. And even with the documentary that we did was so important because a lot of the young artists are doing hip house and have no idea. Tyree said it best. They have no idea that they're doing it. And so I really think this is the season for house music to make its claim here in America. Because let's be honest, in Europe, like I said before, the claim is there. And we're going to keep it positive, but I feel like that it needs to be more so on the radars of the people, the DJ magazines, the mix mags, the resident advisors, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on, is that you always got to look to where something came from to know where you're going. And so I think these publications and these blog sites, they're very one-sided, and I think they just need to open it up a little bit more. And now is the time to do it, because what's going to happen is you're going to be late to the party, and then something else is going to develop, and then you're going to be out of the question. It's almost kind of like what radio is going on. Like everybody's on Twitch or TikTok. Radio is not the prime place to go to. You can break a record on Twitch just as easy as the radio. Is the radio still important? Absolutely. But I just think that we need to, it's enough room for everybody. Whatever styles that's out, I'm not slagging that off. I'm not saying that it does not earn its space and place musically. But what I know definitely does is house music. And the people that did it before us and the people that are doing it now, need to wake up and start shining a little bit more of that light on what it is. And things that like what you're doing, us having this conversation is going to go way further than what the people are watching it now, because you're going to put it out there. And that's the kind of stuff that we need, because you didn't have to talk to me. You could have talked to whoever you wanted to talk to. And as you've been talking to them. And so I think we're in a step, we're going in the right direction. But I just would like to see more involvement just with house music, period.
So how do we begin that dialogue? What is the initiative, if that's the right word I'm trying to grab very quickly? Why do the magazines XYZ? What's the what is the incentive? That's the word I'm looking for. What is the incentive for them?
The incentive to me is that if you look at some of these blog sites, these labels, these festivals, the magazines, all of that, is that look at what you're doing. Like, to me, you're going to hear a lot coming from here, but nowhere else in the world have I heard any mention of people celebrating 40 years of house music. This is house music anniversary this year. This is monumental. This is huge. Why are all of these festivals, all of these magazines, the people that I'm talking about, why are they not speaking of this? Hip hop last year they celebrated 50 years, and you saw the hip hop community across the world come together. People that has been brought back that has not done stuff since the early 80s, that are now doing shows, that are now doing massive press, that are now, they feel alive again. I haven't seen, and maybe it's me, and if it's some mentions has been out there, I stand corrected. But to me, this is something for everybody to bite on, to say, yo, this is the 40th anniversary of house music. Without house music, you wouldn't be defected. You wouldn't be DJ. You wouldn't be having these huge festivals. You know what I mean? Like, where's that mention?
But doesn't that come back to the fact that the history is a little muddied, which we see all the time?
The one thing about it is, right, and what people don't see, and especially coming from Chicago, is that I was able to learn and look past that. It's muddy because people are saying this, that, this, that, this, that. Whatever your belief is, whatever you say, if it started at the warehouse, if it started in somebody's home, whatever the fact and matter of it is, it's house music and it's here to stay. Don't get it twisted. Hip hop did the same thing. People that was in the hip hop said that's a lie. Hip hop is older than 50 years. You had the same people that's bickering in hip hop doing the same bickering in house music. The same thing happened. You're gonna have that. But my point, the narrative of it being a celebration for 50 years of hip hop, cats partake in that celebration. And it was mentioned all over the world. It's over with, and people are still talking about the 50th year and the 50th anniversary of house music. So however it's muddy and who says this, who says that, whatever, who's lying, who's telling the truth, the fact remains, this is the 40th year, the 40th anniversary of house music, and we are going by the record that Jesse Saunders made in 1984. That is the narrative that we're getting behind, and that is what we're pushing. And thank you very much for giving you guys the layup. Press, run with this. Check my man Andy's show out and show the love, because this is monumental. You guys are feeding each other off of this. You are taking care of your staff. You are allowed to make, to put on festivals and pay these astronomical fees to all of these DJs, man. If it wasn't for house music, it would not be eating at the table. Say that again, I'm sorry.
I was saying you talking about some of the DJs, and say DJs that shouldn't really be eating at the table.
They shouldn't be at the table at all. And that is my whole thing. It's like, yo, let's really look at what you're doing. Where does EDM come from? If you want to talk about EDM, where does it come from? It comes from house music. Any form of dance music that you're doing, it comes from house music. Like, what are you doing right now? And we're gonna keep it positive. And I'm saying this in a positive way. I'm just conveying my passion right? It's not nothing negative at all. And I don't want to come off like that. But at the same time is that it to go with what you touched on is, I've always tried to be humble with situations. Not anymore. I'm taking what's mine. I'm going to keep showing up for what's mine and what's my team. And I feel so passionate about this that, no, like all of these young R&B artists and hip hop artists. And I remember in LA, I had a lot of conversations. I met a lot of people that are huge in that urban side. And they're like, yeah, such I'm doing. I'm like, you doing house music? Huh? Yeah. And then educating them. Like, I'm not trying to, because I'm no pastor, no preacher, but it was like the amount of people that I was like, damn, they was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's what you're doing. Learn your history. You know your hip hop history. You know your trap history. If we want to go trap music, that's fairly new to hip hop. You know your history in trap. Well, know the history of what that 4/4 is. And then it came from disco before house. So it's just, my thing is like, we got to show up and we got to take it and we got to demand it. Quit going to the table of, could you guys please write about us? Could you please hire us? Could you please do that? We did one better. Oh, you're not going to take us and you're not going to hire us in the festival? We're going to do our own festival. And guess what? We got 40, 50,000 people at our festival. And we're going to keep on, and we're going to keep on, and we're going to keep on. Look at house music. Can't nobody say in house music the last 2 years, I don't care what happens, and I hope it happens every year, but the last 2 years, 2 major artists got house music remixes, and guess what? It was nominated for a Grammy. Shout to all the Grammy Award winners like Louis Vega and Maurice and Frankie and David and all of that. But like, we still here. You got to pay attention at some point. Or I can't say for everybody else. I can say for certain people, we finna come knock at some doors. You gonna have to let us in. Period. And I'm saying that, and I'm not saying that on no threatening. We're not going to beat anybody up. I'm saying it as to motivate people to be positive. If you believe in something, stand on it. But we're gonna show up, and you're gonna have to pay attention, and you're gonna have to give my man Andy Ward credit. And your festival that you do, which is an incredible, it's not a festival, but it's more of a, is it a weekend or what would you call it?
A week-long event, vocal booth weekender.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's a weekend, like it's incredible. So my thing is, we all got to start knocking on doors, man, because at the end of the day, that is the only way they're going to respect us. And so, happy 40th anniversary to house music, and I look forward to seeing 50 and continuing this path. You know what I mean?
It's beautiful. Well, you just said, for many people who may have jumped into the stream and been with us ever since, we began by saying it was nothing but positivity throughout this conversation. And we have been continuously dropping that. However, we do need to get that message home to people that,
And it's a positive message. It's a positive message. Absolutely.
And things are changing, and I see that Terry has taken it upon himself to be the man carrying the weight on his shoulders. Another conversation for another time. The energy, how you find to be out on the road when the summer comes around, so on and so forth. I mean, you mentioned Louis Vega there. Do you understand how that man is still doing what he's doing?
Yo, listen, I know why he's doing what he's doing. I know how he's able to do it. It's for the love of the music, man. And the love of the music, and if it's whatever you're doing, if you love it, it will take. Let me tell you something. I fell out of love. When you talk about those times, I fell out of love with the music business, not music, the music business. And I didn't care what I did. It was no love. None of that. The love that I have and regain is even more incredible. And I'm right there with Louis. Like, let's go. Where we going? Are we in Brazil one night and then got to go to Thailand the next? Let's do it. I mean, obviously, we got to take care of our health and do all of those obvious things. And big up to you. And I find that motivating to see that you guys are running and walking. And that's a motivation, man, to put out there for us to see, even for myself. But the love of the music, man, I know it. Louis doesn't have to tell me. It's expressed. And, I look at and having conversations, man. I saw Black Coffee. Glad that he's doing better. I saw him over the summer. We did the same festival. And to look at it, how he's traveling and how he's doing what he's doing. And I remember at a point I was so tired because I was just out of the love of the business of music. I was like, man, I don't know how they doing it. Ain't no way. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Because my love is rejuvenated, and I'm doing the same thing right now. Staying up, I'm getting my rest. I'm being more smart about it. Sometimes now I'm in bed by 12 instead of 4. But like those are the necessary steps I'm saying, and now I'm getting up earlier, working and not killing myself. I'm working smarter, not harder. But that's exactly what it is. It's the love of the music, man. It's the love of DJing. It's the love of seeing somebody react to your record. If it's great, not so great, or not good at all. Knives sharpen knives. And so, that's why I'm at with it. Like, man, I feel like right now, honestly, I love this so much, bro, and love having conversations with people like this. I could go another 20 years and not blink an eye if God is willing to let me. That's how much I'm back in love with this music again.
Amen to that. And I do know in just a few hours' time, you're going to be live on Twitch. Do you want to give that a quick mention? I'm sure you don't need to really plug it on my show, but feel free.
Nah, yeah, we always got to plug it. Absolutely. Everybody, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Follow me on Twitch, Sanitize Your Soul. We're going to be rocking out, playing some good music, laughing, having some good conversations. And please, everybody join us today. It's going to be dope.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, we've had a few comments throughout the conversation that I didn't want to go to because I didn't want to interrupt your flow. Someone asked me to, and don't answer this question, but someone asked me to ask you about the time you first met Kenny Dope. I'm assuming that's a funny story. And then Mark Hogg from the Slamming Boys in Manchester, you remember Mark well, he's saying to give us your Chewbacca impersonation. Terry,
that's my man.
On that note, brother, I'm just going to say thank you so much for giving me your wisdom, your time, and 25 years of friendship, 25 plus years. The very first international DJ we ever had at the vocal booth. And we look forward to getting you back again. And I'll see you in the summer out and about.
You know it. It's always lovely when we run into each other. We got to make time. I know we both be busy, but when I see you this summer, we breaking bread.
For sure. I'm going to press this button. It's going to kick you off of Zoom. I'm just going to say a few goodbyes. Thanks, my man.
Thank you.
Peace. Okay, so hopefully this is working now. I am still here live, I believe. My apologies for a little bit of glitching earlier on. I did get some ringing in my ear at some point, and I've got to say a massive thank you to Lisa for sending me some stars. That feature is active, but no one ever pays attention to it, so thank you for that. Too many names, too many people to say thank you to for being here. Everyone loving it. Thank you, Maurice, for heaping some praise on Vocal Booth, and all the people over on YouTube as well. If you're watching on Facebook, you can subscribe to us over at youtube.com/ Andy Ward. No, for youtube.com/ DJ Andy Ward. And I tested out going live on Instagram earlier. It was working okay, but I think I might need to upgrade my computer. Any excuse to spend a little bit more money. Wonderful. I will reply to all of your comments throughout. And as we're about to end, I'll press this button and I'll say thank you for watching, and the maximum respect to all of the Access crew, a small band of mighty men and women who donate. And throughout 2024, we are building a well in Africa with Last Night a DJ Saved My Life. You can see all the names here. We have one or two more to add in March. And to end off, I'll ask you, if you ever see anyone asking about a website, forget about Mo, bring them to Wardy. I give 50 quid to anyone who can find me a website client. Thanks a lot, everyone. Lots of love.